What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And oh my goodness, it was just what an ugly loss. What an ugly loss from the Phillies tonight following the trade deadline. We're not really going to recap the game because the game was it was hideous. Bullpen game, everything like that. Spencer Strider is nasty. I really was not expecting much, honestly. Well, I was kind of not expecting. I wasn't expecting a 13-1 loss, even though the game's still 2 outs in the top of the ninth inning. I thought I might as well just do it now, but I wasn't expecting this type of loss. But bullpen game, we'll just classify it as a dud. Easy throwaway. Bounce back tomorrow with Zack Wheeler on the mound. That's basically how I'm going to summarize this game. I would have liked to see better approaches at the plate. You did take a 1-0 lead in this game, but then Rhys Hoskins makes a couple of mistakes, having difficulties getting the third out of the inning. A lot of the runs from the Braves came with 2 outs during this ball game. Eddie Rosario went off in this game for the Braves, getting 5 RBIs. And that's basically what's going to happen at that point. And like I said, Spencer Strider is insanely nasty. Insanely nasty. Clocking 97 to 101. How many strikeouts did he have in this ball game? He had 13 strikeouts. My goodness. Struck out a lot of people in this game. A lot of people. Really, the Phillies only have 4 hits in this ball game, and 2 of those from Derek Hall. So yeah, overall, just not a good day at the office for the Phillies, as Didi Gregorius records the final out of the game, and the Phillies officially lose 13-1 to the Atlanta Braves. But more or less, this game is going to be more focused on the trade deadline and basically every Phillies move that they made this afternoon. I know we did the trade deadline hangout stream basically a couple of hours ago. We did that from like 12 to 6 basically throughout the rest of the trade deadline, basically talking about everything that went down there and just basically reacting to it as it happened live. But now that we're, a couple of hours into this, effect, the Phillies made their moves, they got their acquisitions, and now we're going to focus on those moves that were made. Basically throw this game out in the trash. Bullpen game and everything like that. Just completely forget about it. Move on to tomorrow. Really wasn't going to be expecting much from a bullpen game against the Atlanta Braves. So yeah, let's focus on at hand the trades. Let's focus on the trades. So basically, we all know what happened for the trade deadline. The bigger moves basically throughout baseball. Juan Soto going to the San Diego Padres and all that. A lot of other teams making some other moves as well. Frankie Montas going to the Yankees. Tyler Mahle going to the Minnesota Twins. Josh Hader going to the Padres as well. The Padres is making big splashes. Also, Josh Bell was traded to the Dodgers in the Juan Soto trade. So there were just a bunch of trades basically throughout baseball. But let's basically go over the Phillies moves from today's game. This is more going to be just a quick recap and everything like that, since we already had the huge live stream earlier this afternoon. So this is more going to be a quick hitter than anything like that. So let's go over the first trade of the day. Phillies really didn't kick off anything until, the closer end of the trade deadline. People were getting impatient, which was understandable because there really wasn't any rumors. Really weren't any rumors on the Phillies. Really, the only thing we've heard are Noah Syndergaard, Tyler Mahle, maybe, eventually a Carlos Rodon rumor was squeaking in there later in the parts of the trade deadline from the San Francisco Giants. And we're like, ooh, can the Phillies go out and get a Carlos Rodon? But then basically, the trade market was very weak. There weren't, a lot of the guys that were on the market were like, third, fourth, fifth quality type of starters, even though that's what the Phillies got in this aspect. There were a lot of teams that were asking for way too much for the people that were out there. And that's granted because the market was very weak in terms of pitching. Very, very weak. It's not like every year you got a Max Scherzer on the market like you did last year. And that what sets the market, really. When there's no guy out there like that, the market's going to be all over the place, especially with how weak it was this year. So a lot of guys got returns that maybe they probably wouldn't in a normal type of trade market year with more bigger names on the market, like a Tyler Mahle. Would he get the type of return that he got this trade deadline if it was a different one? So there's a lot of things to talk about in that aspect. But the Phillies went out. They made their first trade of the day. They traded Logan O'Hoppe, I would believe their 4th or 5th number overall prospect in their prospect system. They trade him to the Los Angeles Angels to acquire outfielder Brandon Marsh, who is 24 years old. He has at least 5 more years left to control on his contract until he's 29 or 30, I believe. And from basically everything from Brandon Marsh. He is a A+ outfielder. He has a great glove out there, so he's going to basically be your best outfielder automatically during this trade, and he has speed. The only thing that you can put a criticism for with Brandon Marsh is his bat is really not the best. It really hasn't shown up. He made his major league debut last year for the Angels, and he played a lot during the time when Mike Trout was injured. And then, really the bat hasn't come to fruition yet. And maybe the Phillies trading him over here. Maybe Kevin Long can work on the bat, because if Kevin Long can get that, I feel like his average is around like the 220s or something like that. If Kevin Long can find a way to get that 220 average to a 250 average or something like that, you got yourself something cooking there. You maybe have a center fielder for the foreseeable future in Brandon Marsh, especially when you have all that control for him over the next couple of years. So overall, at first you're thinking about, oh, why are you trading Logan O'Hoppe for a Brandon Marsh? But then you're like thinking to yourself, as you think through the course of everything, Logan O'Hoppe, he was really going to be blocked coming up to the Major League Baseball because of, JT Realmuto. He still has a good amount of years left on his contract. You have a lot of other depth options. You still have Garrett Stubbs. You still have Rafael Marchand. There's a lot of places in here that could prevent Logan O'Hoppe from being a starting catcher for the Phillies in the foreseeable future. He was 22 years old right now. Honestly, we're thinking about when the JT contract ends, Logan O'Hoppe is going to be like around 25, 26 years old. Maybe not the best time you want to call up a guy to be, make his major league debut and all that stuff to make a major impact. That's just my honest opinion right there. So overall, I think it's a very solid deal. And like I said, if Kevin Long can find a way to fix the bat, because that's really the only issue with Brandon Marsh right now, because his defense is really good and he has speed. If you can find a way to fix that bat, you have something really good out there in Marsh. And then you go to the second trade of the day. Not that long after the Brandon Marsh trade, the Phillies traded for a bullpen guy, back-end reliever. David Robertson comes back to Philadelphia. We knew he signed that contract in 2019. Didn't go too well. He needed Tommy John surgery, basically missed out on the entire tenure of his Phillies career during that contract. And then he found himself, ended up with the Chicago Cubs. He had a really great season this year with Chicago, around the sub-2 ERA for most of the year. He just has a barely above 2. It was like a 2.26 ERA, I believe. The Phillies trade for David Robertson, and they trade one of their, top prospects that they said that were untouchable, Ben Brown. So he's a pitcher that just got promoted to Double-A, has a big strikeout number. He was really coming up the ranks this season, and he was labeled one of the ones that were untouchable. The same thing with Logan O'Hoppe, and you were like thinking to yourself, I was kind of thinking, Logan O'Hoppe was probably going to be a trade piece at some point. Same thing with Ben Brown, but I was just like, you're trading. It's not the best look trading a young possible starting pitcher for a year rental of a relief pitcher. But David Robertson, he's going to supplement that back end of the bullpen, because now you got 4 guys back there that have closing experience. You got Sir Anthony Dominguez, you got Brad Hand, you got Corey Knebel, and now you add David Robertson to that mix, along with Jose Alvarado, who's been a lot better since being called up from AAA, Connor Brogdon, Andrew Bellotti, you got Nick Nelson in there, a lot of these other arms that the Phillies have. And also with a couple of these moves, with the Brandon Marsh move, you DFA Odubel Herrera, and with the David Robertson acquisition, you DFA Familia. So that's 2 guys that really have it. Familia, who's been terrible all year, gets rightfully DFA'd, and the Odubel Herrera tenure in Philadelphia is finally over. So at the end of the day, those 2 trades became something bigger. You get 2 guys that were horrible off your roster. So overall, good job, Phillies. And then basically the big trade of the day that came right at the end of the trade deadline. The Phillies, basically, it was down to the wire between them and the Toronto Blue Jays for Noah Syndergaard. The Phillies ended up getting Noah Syndergaard for Mickey Moniak and Jidel Sanchez. So really the Phillies did not have to give up that much. They're eating basically the entirety of the Noah Syndergaard contract, and they get themselves a 3rd starter. Noah Syndergaard, he's been honestly, his numbers are very solid with the Los Angeles Angels. He has a 3.83 ERA in so many games that he has played. The only thing that would be the concerning part is the Angels had a 6-man rotation this year. So how is he going to adapt to a 5-man rotation? He's coming off, this is his first year since coming off of last year's injury and all that. But still, overall, the numbers have been solid. Really, the only thing that's major about it is the strikeout numbers are just a little bit down. He's been more focusing on finesse and all that stuff because he doesn't have the same velocity yet, or he just doesn't have the same velocity anymore that he used to have back with the New York Mets, even though his nickname is still Thor. But just overall, it's just I still find it a very solid pickup. I like the acquisition of Noah Syndergaard. He's going to be a nice acquisition to, the 1-2 of Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. It'd be a nice third starter in there. And then you throw in your Kyle Gibson and then also your Ranger Suarez as the fourth and fifth starter. So overall, I think the Phillies had a very, 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 very solid trade deadline. And just, basically just a forgetfulness of this entire game. It was a bullpen game. Nick Nelson allowed 2 runs. Andrew Bellotti allowed a run. Corey Knebel allowed 5 runs. So honestly, he didn't allow a run, I believe, the entire month of July. He hasn't allowed a run since Father's Day. I think that was the stat that was brought up. And he allowed 5 runs in this ball game, all with 2 outs. So not the best performance from Corey Knebel. Mark Appel, he allows a run, and then Francisco Morales, who was called up because of all the trade acquisitions and stuff like that, he allows 4 runs in his 2 innings of work. And Spencer Strider is just goddamn nasty. He goes 6 2/3, 13 strikeouts, 3 hits allowed. The Phillies lineup basically just couldn't hit him at all. Kyle Schwarber goes over 2 with 2 strikeouts and 2 walks. Rhys Hoskins over 3 with 2 strikeouts. Alec Boehm over 4 with 3 strikeouts. JT goes over 3 with 2 strikeouts. Nick Castellanos got a hit in this ball game. He goes 1 for 3. Derek Hall provided the lone run for the Phillies with an RBI double. He went 2 for 4 in this game. Bryson Stott 1 for 4. Matt Vierling over 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts, and Didi Gregorius goes over 4 with a strikeout. So basically, Phillies, they went over 6 runners in scoring position. The Braves went 6 for 15. So really, all in all, this is an easy game to throw away, and you're bouncing back. Just bounce back tomorrow with Zach Wheeler on the bump, and you're also going up against Charlie Morton. Tomorrow's game is a fairly quick turnaround. It's a 12:35 game, so maybe that is a blessing in disguise. Throw this game completely out in the trash and just focus on tomorrow afternoon's game. That's basically all that we're worrying about. And for other news, you got, Gene Segura possibly returning to the lineup during the Washington National Series this weekend. Brandon Marsh and David Robertson. Well, they're saying David Robertson could get into, Atlanta by tomorrow afternoon's game. And most likely the same thing with Noah Syndergaard. He's most likely not going to be here until Thursday or the weekend series with the Nationals. And maybe he'll make his Phillies debut during that series. So who knows? Who definitely knows in that aspect? So overall, it's just Phillies are 55-48 on the year. Really, like I said, not going to go over this game that much. It was basically just a recap of the trades and everything like that because this game was just a complete dud. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good trade deadline for the Phillies. Forget about this game. Bounce back tomorrow with Zach Wheeler on the mound. I feel you made yourself a better team with these acquisitions. You got yourself an everyday center fielder, which Rob Thompson said that's what Brandon Marsh is going to be. And yeah, so overall, good trade deadline. Good trade deadline. So that's going to do it for this quick hitter, everyone. That's what it was going to be. So don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section down below. Do not forget to drop a like on the video. Check out everything in the description down below. Painted Lines, BrodesMedia, everything like that. I recommend it. Also, hit the subscribe button and use the code TTPSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek, everyone. And I will see you next time.